Today we're going to be showing you some of the recipes that we make here on our homestead with some of our homegrown food. So what are we making today?
Pumpkin pudding.
Yes, pumpkin pudding is one of our favorite breakfasts. So we use our homegrown winter squash and whatever kind of milk we have and eggs from our chickens. And it's going to make a really delicious high protein breakfast with vegetables in it. So we've already started here. We cooked this was about a 12-pound Cinderella pumpkin that we baked at 350 for about 2 hours until it slumped. You want it to slump to reduce the water content so that your pudding doesn't separate. So once it was cooked to the point where it slumped, we put it in our blender. You can also just mash it by hand, but you want to get it as smooth as possible. And then we added some coconut milk to it. Since none of our dairy animals are in milk right now, you can also use milk cream, sour cream, whatever you have on hand. So let's see, this was 10 cups of pumpkin, and as we mixed it up, we added in probably 2.5 cups of the coconut milk to this. So we've got, here, can I see the spoon? We've got a pretty thick consistency.
But I think it's very
All right, so once we added the coconut milk to the pumpkin, we ended up with about 12 cups of pumpkin puree. So let's see here, the rest of our ingredients. For every 1 cup of the pumpkin puree, we're going to add 1 egg. So 12 cups of this, that's going to be 12 eggs. Maybe we should have put these in the blender to mix them in there better. We might have to get out our other mixers. Hand mix.
Can I crack egg?
Are you going to get shells in our pudding? Hold it over here and pull it apart. Oh!
Whoa.
I think Mommy got egg on her face. Alright, 1 more. I think that was 12. We did get a little bit of shell in there. Somebody might get a little bit of a crunch. Let's see if we can break up those eggs really well, so we don't have streaks of egg white in our pudding. Alright, now we're going to get some coconut sugar.
It's me.
And this is a healthier option than regular cane sugar. It has more minerals and it's lower on the glycemic index. It also doesn't take very much of it. I have not tried this recipe with honey because we haven't gotten that much of a honey crop from our bees yet. But if anybody tries it with honey, put your results in the comments and let us know how it worked. So for the coconut sugar, let's see, we want 1/4 cup coconut sugar for every cup of the puree. So that's going to be 3 cups total of coconut sugar. Are you counting? That was 2, and this is 3. All right, mix that up really well. Now we're going to add some cinnamon. Let's see, that was maybe 2 tablespoons. And some allspice. Let's say probably 1 tablespoon of allspice. And 1 tablespoon of ginger. Oh, that was a little more than a tablespoon. That was more like 2 or 3 tablespoons. Anywhere in that range is fine. Fresh ginger is also really good in this. I just grate it with a mini cheese grater. And then I'm going to add a little bit of lemon essential oil. We really like lemon. It just adds a little bit of different dimension and flavor to the pudding. You could also use a splash of lemon juice or a squeeze of fresh lemon or a little lemon zest. This is an edible brand of lemon essential oil, and I'm going to add maybe 15 drops. All right, mix that up really well. So we've got our pumpkin puree with the coconut milk. We've got our sugar, our eggs, and I think we got all of our spices, cinnamon, allspice, ginger, and lemon. So I think that is everything. We're going to need to find another pan here. This usually makes 3 pans. But first, let's get this mixed up really well. If you're making a smaller batch, you could put this whole thing in the blender and do it that way. Just to make sure that it's mixed up really well. Sometimes I pureed eggs in the blender. I didn't think of it this time. Are you going to stir this bowl?
Yeah.
Okay. Get that stirred up a little bit more. Alright, we'll start pouring it into these containers. So I fill the containers, maybe 2/3 full. This will rise a little bit while it's baking. And I have had it overflow before if I go overboard. So I'm going to get at least one more container here. And then we're going to bake these at 350 degrees until they're set up really well and they don't seem jiggly in the middle. So depending on the size of your pan, I'd say anywhere from half an hour to an hour. For this size, I'll probably go with 45 minutes and see how they're looking at that point. And you can eat them as soon as they come out of the oven, but they taste way better if you chill them first. So that's why we're making them the day before, and we're going to put them in the fridge for tonight, and then they will be our breakfast for the next few days. I'm starting some chickens for dinner here. These are not hybrid broilers, but these are just Americana roosters that we actually fattened up in chicken tractors with a little bit of corn for the last month. And so they are a little bit more plump than your typical laying rooster. And then I washed them, I picked them a little bit cleaner, made sure that we didn't miss anything inside when we were processing. And now I've got them in my cast iron pan ready to go in the oven. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of lemon juice over these. This adds flavor and I think it helps to tenderize them a little bit. You could brush this on if you wanted to be more precise. And then I have some good quality Himalayan salt. And then a little bit of black pepper. Whoops, I'm gonna have to wash that. So to start with, I'm going to put these in the oven at 350 and I'll bake them until they are done, maybe a little bit beyond done. Usually with the farm roosters, they require a little bit more cooking in order to be tender. But I'm actually going to do a second step after that. It's kind of hit or miss whether these are going to be good as roasters, but they are really, really good fried. So I pre-cook them in the oven, and then I'm going to chop them apart into pieces. I can leave the wings whole, and then like the breast I'll chop into bite-sized pieces. And I'm actually going to bread them on the stove. I'm going to use some egg whites or just whole beaten eggs, and then we'll dip them in that, and then dip them in a gluten-free breading, and then stick them in a pan that's simmering with some hot coconut oil or lard. And so the double cooking there, it really just tenderizes them and it makes a lot better eating bird out of something that wouldn't be so great just by itself. So, I am going to put some rosemary on these. You don't have to do this, but I have fresh rosemary in hand. I really enjoy rosemary on our chicken. So let's chop a little bit of this on here. And then I already have my oven warming up. So these chickens aren't huge. I guess maybe 2.5 pounds dressed out. So I'm going to give them about 2 hours and then I'll check the temperature to see where they're at. And I want to cook them probably to 170 or maybe 175. A little bit it beyond the minimum for chicken. This is one recipe that these are really good for. They also are good for stew or pot pies. Anything that has a longer cooking time or double cooking time. Canning, that's another area where the long canning time can help to really tenderize them. So a lot of times I'll can these. And then we can use them in the same recipe and bread them and fry them once they're canned. Or we can throw them into soup. All right, those are all ready to go in the oven. All right, my chickens are out of the oven now, so I'm ready to fry these. But first, I'm going to start some sweet potatoes and get them in the oven. These were partially pre-cooked and frozen, so it's really handy on a busy day to just get them out of the oven and throw them on a tray. I'm going to add a little bit of coconut oil on the top of these.
He's just going to get me because he's going to go and do myself real hungry.
Alright, I'm going to throw these in the oven. When they come out, I'll put a little bit of salt on them. So those are at 400. Sometimes I do broil on them, but since they're partially frozen, I'm just going to stick to 400 to give them more time. So for my fried chicken, I'm going to take my coconut oil, the rest of it here, and put it in a pot. And I'm going to wait a minute to turn this on until I get everything else ready here so it doesn't get too hot. We do want it hot before the chicken goes in, but not so that it's spitting out everywhere and making a mess. So I'm going to have one bowl that has my eggs. And then my second bowl will have the breading. Since I'm gluten-free, I'm using a little bit of tapioca starch and some almond flour. I would say 1 part tapioca starch to 4 parts almond flour. And you can do the same thing with just regular wheat flour. And then I'm going to salt this. Out of there real well. The chicken was already salted, so we don't need a whole lot of salt. I don't want to overdo it. I'm just going to add a little bit of pepper. And if you wanted to, you could add some paprika in this. I sometimes do that. Lemon pepper is another option. Since I already put lemon juice on the chicken, I don't think I need to do that. Alright, I'm going to turn my pan on medium now. And start taking some pieces of chicken off of here. Alright, so I have a nice pile of chicken started here. So I'm going to start putting these in my pot. The oil is nice and hot. So first I dip a piece of chicken in the eggs. And then it gets dipped in the breading. And then I use some tongs to give it a little shake and put it in the oil. I just want these in a single layer in my pot of oil. So I'm going to put them on one side until they're lightly brown, and then I'll flip them over and do the other side. And if I have more than will fit in one pot of oil, then I do multiple batches. I have some pieces here that are boneless and some that I left the bone in. You could take all of the bone out if that's your preference. And you could also cut these in smaller pieces to make more of a chicken nugget kind of thing. These are really good. Even the gluten-free version, you wouldn't know that it was gluten-free.
Do you enjoy the challenge of gardening? So do I. That's why I began saving seeds from my garden more than 10 years ago. Saving seeds was a lot of fun, but I quickly discovered how much I didn't know, like how my pumpkins turned into pumpkininis and sweet peppers turned hot. Since I first started, I've learned from other seed savers, read just about every seed saving book out there, and each year put it all into practice in my own garden. I've combined everything I've learned into an easy online course that simplifies seed saving for beginners. With Simple Seed Saving, you can begin successfully saving seeds from your garden today. Simple Seed Saving gives you all the info you need to prevent unwanted crossing, save pure seeds from all of your plants to grow next year. The course includes handy reference charts, printable seed packets, and access to a private Facebook group where you can ask questions anytime. Saving seeds is a great way to save money, preserve your favorite seed varieties, and become less dependent on the grocery store. Start saving seeds today.